Magandang buhay sa ating lahat. I will be talking about the subject, actually new subject siya. We have here the law enforcement operations and planning with crime mapping. Yan. I will be handling this subject for third years. All of the sections, ako po magtuturo ng law enforcement operation and planning with crime mapping. Actually, this is a new subject. During our time, we don't have this type of subject, but then under the new revision of the new curriculum, dinagdag na po nila ang law enforcement operation and planning with crime mapping. Okay? Just a review on the subject matter. Kasi the CHED or the Commission on Higher Education release the course description and course content for this subject. Nagbigay po sila ng guiding on what would be the content of this subject. Kasi we are a board-oriented course. Yan. So pag board-oriented po tayo kasi, medyo mabigat-bigat po ang mga subjects. And then of course, kailangan po natin ipasa ang ating board exam para nang sa ganun we have the license to practice our profession. Ngayon, para maging iisa ang takbo ng pag-aaral natin under this specific subject, nagbigay si Chet ng course description and course outline. So, bale ito yung susundin natin. This will be the series of lessons that we are going to be discussing under this subject. So, naka-align po tayo sa CHED issuance regarding the course description and course content of the subject matter law enforcement operation and planning with crime mapping. So we have here the course description. As we can see, this course provides the fundamental concept of planning as a leadership role. So importante po kasi sa field ng law enforcement yung skill ng leadership. Then as you can see, included on your subject yung tinatawag nating character formation and with leadership and so on. Pakita ko na lang dyan. And the profession acknowledges the importance of leadership skills among law enforcers. So, part of the subject we'll be talking about planning. No? And who plans? Sino ang nagplaplano? Of course, it is those leaders ng organization. So, sila yung nagplaplano. So, kailangan nating pag-aralan the different aspect of planning and, of course, leadership. Because they go together. Si leader, he plans. And, of course, pag maganda ang plano natin, then the operation will also be a success. So, yan yung pinaka-first niya. It discusses the fundamental concept of planning. No? So, yan yung isa sa many of the topics na kailangan nating pag-aralan under this specific subject. Okay? It discusses or it provides fundamental concept of planning as a leadership role and operations of selected law enforcement and public safety agencies. So, not only in PNP organization. Kasi sabi natin, law enforcement operation. So it does not only focuses on one law enforcement agency, which is the PNP. So we're going to talk about the other law enforcement agencies. Okay? So medyo malawak-lawak din ang pag-uusapan natin dito because it's not only in one organization. Unlike before, we are focused on PNP organization. Now, we're going to talk about the many or selected law enforcement agencies here in the Philippines. Okay? And then we have also the respective legal mandates and limitation under existing laws. So every organization is being guided by a specific law, and that specific law provides the limitation of power of every organization. So matatalakay din po natin yung mga yun in this subject. And the addition of this is yung tinatawag nating crime mapping and its relation to police operation. How important is this? Di ba pag sinabi nating crime mapping, nakafocus na siya ngayon doon sa isang law enforcement organization because majority of crime has something to do with PNP. I mean is, karamihan ng mga act considered as crime, ang haharap dyan, ang aasikaso dyan, most likely are the members of the PNP. So specifically, the crime mapping topic is focused now on the law enforcement. The crime mapping topic is now focused on the police force. No? So, what's the essence of crime mapping? As you can see, under the subject theories of crime causation, introduction to criminology, and other criminology subjects, or sa old curriculum we call that the CrimSoc subjects, marami tayong theories doon na nagpo-prove that in a society there is the pattern that always exists among criminality. So, meron tayong observable pattern. So, for example, in one place, bakit dito sa place na to, majority of the crime na nakocommit is crimes against property. While in this area, majority of the crime na nakocommit are drug-related. So, by doing the crime mapping, magkakaroon tayo ng idea on what crime is being committed at a specific place. And gaano ba ka-importante yun sa police operation? Of course, kung alam natin kung anong specific crime ang karaniwang nakocommit sa isang lugar, magkakaroon tayo ng idea kung ano yung nararapat na operation na i-conduct doon sa isang area. Magkakaroon tayo ng maraming crime prevention program based on the crime rate at a specific area and based on what crimes are being committed at a specific area. Okay? So, if marami dito ang drug-related sa isang area, then alam natin kung anong type ng operation ang ikakandak natin sa area na yan. Kung sa area namang isa, marami ang sex-related offenses, so alam natin kung anong type ng operation yung gagawin natin at that specific area. So that's basically the importance of crime mapping. Kasi nakikita natin yung bird's eye view on the crime situation of the specific place. Let's say for example, the crime situation dito sa Bayambong, kung napansin nyo, no? Recently we have the outbreak, not really an outbreak, but we have the happening wherein parang naging trend na naman ngayon yung mga pagnanakaw sa mga boarding houses. And another is that kung mapapansin nyo, late at night, dumadami na naman yung mga pagala-gala na mga tao, as well as yung mga reckless driver that we can say, yung mga motor na maiingay, although matagal na yun eh. But there is a factor na kung saan kasi, since the police station of PNP Bayambong was moved, so does that affect kaya the current crime situation that we have in the central business district of Bayambong? May factor kaya yon na kung saan inalis or inilipat ang station ng PNP sa isang lugar, then later on the crime is increasing. So those are the things that we should take into consideration. So dapat lahat ng move ng law enforcement agency is carefully planned kasi nga it might affect the security, or it might affect the law, peace and order of a certain area. Kasi there is a factor na tinatawag nating police visibility. If the police are present, omnipresent, they're felt everywhere, the tendency is that people who have criminal intention will definitely think twice. Sabihin na, okay, I'm not going to commit this since there is a police nearby. So yun yung mga factor, and that is part also of the planning for every operation na kinakanta. So those are the very important and very relevant in-time topic that we need to discuss in this subject matter. Okay? So under the course content of this subject, we have the principles of planning. Yan, importanteng pag-aralan natin the basic principle of planning. What are the ideas behind planning? How important is planning anyway? Meron nga tayong kasabihan, I don't know, I'm just going to quote this. Failing to prepare is planning to fail. Yan, so mabigat yan na quotation. And with regards to PNP and other law enforcement organization, planning is a very essential part of every operation. Okay? So yun yung kailangan nating aralin in this subject matter. Then we have the elements of planning, because we just don't plan. We must take into consideration all the aspect of the operation. Kasi even if you plan, kung senseless din naman ang plano mo, wala din lang. It's just equivalent. Parehas yun lang. Parang hindi ka na rin lang nagplano, since nagplano ka nga, hindi naman siya talagang in-depth, hindi naman talaga siya mabuting inaral, pinag-aralang mabuti, then it's still the same. Your plan is useless if it's not carefully planned. So we must know the elements of planning before we do the planning. Okay? Types of plan, classification plan, then we have the police, law enforcement plan, and steps in planning and operation. These things will be our topic for the prelim, for the unit 1. And explain ko lang kasi magiging takbo ng discussion natin in this subject. So for midterm, we have here the constitutional and statutory rights of person affected or subject, the police or law enforcement operations. So we have here under Unit 2, the constitutional and statutory rights of person affected or subject by police or law enforcement operation. This is no longer new. Now, the constitutional rights of every person subject to police operation and law enforcement operation is no longer new. K-12 senior high school, I believe they discussed already to you the Philippine Constitution, all of the constitutional rights and also the constitutional rights of the accused and many more. So this is no longer a new topic, but it's good for us to revisit and connect those knowledge into the current situation that we are facing today. Okay, so we're going to discuss much on this topic also. Then we have police operations, BFP operation, Philippine Coast Guard operation, and many other operations of the other law enforcement units that we have here in Philippines. So we're going to be discussing a lot also on those things. So those are the topic for the midterm. And of course, for the finals, dyan na natin pag-uusapan ngayon yung topic on crime mapping, the historical development of crime mapping, theories of crime, review na lang, we're just going to revisit some of the important or significant topic under theories of crime and relate that to crime mapping, place and environmental designs, type of crime mapping and crime analysis, and many more. So the flow of discussion for the subject law enforcement operation and planning with crime mapping will be like that. Okay? So I hope that gives you an idea on what will be the issues and concerns, as well as the topic and knowledge that we will gain in this subject matter. Okay? So thank you and Have a good day. Merry Christmas.
갑자기 내게 나타나준 너, 난 아무 말도 할 수가 없었지. 첫눈에 반한다는 이야기가 널 보는 순간 이해가 됐어. 매번 야야야야야 불러 널 야야야야